Okay, people, this is like June 24th, I think. It's Saturday anyway. I want to say something here, as usual, right? Do you see this? This is enough for Andre. He just went out to the yard and picked this for himself. Yesterday, he had some other strawberries and a few raspberries, right? The raspberries are going to be coming in hardcore. This year, I'm making raspberry jam. I still have dehydrated raspberries. Actually, I still even have raspberries in the freezer. So this year, we're going to make tons and tons of raspberry jam. But in the meantime, Andre gets to eat this as a little snack. And considering that I don't have any money, people, don't you think that's important that he gets fresh fruit, right? At least at some point in the year, right? And, with the way these cities, as they're gentrification of the neighborhoods, and they're cutting down the oak trees, and they're cutting down the walnut trees, and they're cutting down the apple trees, and they're cutting down the food producing trees, whether it's for the wildlife like the squirrels and the raccoons and that type of thing, or whether it's for human beings. They're cutting down cherry trees, they're cutting down maple trees, like maple that actually can produce maple syrup, right? Because Andre and I found one last year. The point is the city is cutting down these trees, bringing in high density living accommodations that the indigenous Canadians cannot afford to pay for, right? As they're being preyed upon through, taxes, in terms of having to pay overinflated taxes, whether it's through the rental market with the rents going up higher and higher because the housing market is out of control, right? Which puts more tax burden on the owners of these properties, right? And so on and so on. So, why is it that city councils, governing legislative bodies, and the union sector, the public union sector, I'm not going to say the private union sector, but most definitely the public, the one that works for the provincial governments, state governments, and that type, municipalities and that type of thing. Why is it these people, right, with good wages, good benefit packages, that can afford the cost of living, know that they're going to be getting increases yearly in terms of, keeping up with inflation, with their wages, and all this other crap, right? On top of pension plans, life insurance policies, and all this other stuff. Why is it that these people, which is just a very small fraction of the total population of the province of British Columbia, Canada, when you think on a provincial workforce, 4.6 million people live in British Columbia, Canada, and under 400,000 work for the provincial government in terms of the union sector that are employed by the BC Liberal government at this point, right? Why is it that these people do not want the regular folk that live in houses, right, that are being forced out of their houses by any means necessary? Why is it they do not want indigenous trees that can feed the people? Hold on, there goes the camera again. That is the question. Why are they cutting down the walnut trees? Why are they cutting down the cherry trees? Why are they cutting down the apple trees? Why are they cutting down the plum trees? Why are they cutting down the fig trees? Why are they cutting down the food producing trees for the animals in terms of the white oak and that type of thing? Why? I guess because the people who control the food control society. But again, if you have no place to live because you've been forced out of your home because of the tax base being out of control in terms of tax gouging, one way or another, being harassed for having toys. It's bad enough I got harassed for having toys in my front yard. Now I can't even have them in the backyard. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? So they can bring in an immigrant population that are laundering money, people. They're still doing it. How many Canadians paying taxes that live here for the last 30 years can afford to buy a house that 2 years ago was $450,000 and 2 years later it's $1.2 million? You tell me how many Canadians can afford that these days. No, that money's coming in from somewhere else, okay? It's coming in, a lot of it, from China. Because China has a long history of human right violations. And they don't want you to have strawberries, raspberries, apples, plums, walnuts, acorns, chestnuts, anything. Right? Well, the city, municipality, more than one, enable that. So that the people that sit on the council, as a government, oh, look at that. You see? He's finding more.
Yeah, I got this from over there.
You got them from the back.
Yeah, I saw more.
There's more?
Yeah.
Oh, look how excited he is, people. You don't think he's not going to remember this as an adult? Is he going to have the privilege, just because he's a Canadian, to be able to plant this for himself? Or is he going to be called a criminal for planting frickin' food, for wanting to feed his own family, because his Nana taught him how to do it? Okay, so we went off and got some more here. Andre's in his glory. Can you see this? He's so excited. Right? I told him, we worked for this. This is what Andre and I have been doing. I'm teaching him how to plant food, people, so that he can do that later on. So he can do that later on when he's older, right? Can you hold on? And we looked on the pear tree, and we actually got pears. And that's another indigenous tree that these city councils, because it's not just happening in Surrey, people. They're just clearing out all the food trees, food producing trees, and they're putting in these ornamental trees that are pointless. They think by pulling out mature food producing trees and bringing in these seedling ornamental trees to replace what they pulled out, for some reason it makes it okay. But yet you, as a homeowner, wants to cut down a tree, you will get fined tens of thousands of dollars. Not the city, though. The city can cut down any tree that it wants for property development, as it pushes out the people out into the streets, into homelessness, into drug addiction, into sex slavery, and all this other stuff, into a coffin, basically, so those employees within the city can make a profit, right? They get their superannuation life insurance policies. They get the best of health care, unless, of course, they get medically kidnapped like Uncle John. But, the majority of them don't. Right? Right? Because it's sell out your neighbor. That's what it is. It's sell out your neighbor so that you can prosper and your neighbor can die. Because I'm telling you, people, why are they cutting down the trees? And here's some little peppers from our pepper plant. And there's this pear tree, and it survived that cold snap, and there's actually pears growing on it. So this is good news, because pears are susceptible to frost as well, or a quick freeze like what happened with the plum tree. So it doesn't look like we're getting plums this year, people. But we're definitely getting pears this year. And this is another tree slated to be cut down in the next, I guess we have to wait and decide. Not decide. We have to wait for the city to decide when it's time to start gentrification of the neighborhood, pushing everyone out into the streets so they can cut down all the fruit-bearing trees. Hold on a minute. I'm going to show you one other thing. Okay, so this is what Rick has done, and it's pretty nice. After everything's all done, all the guys paid, I'm going to buy this film that you can put on this glass, right, so that if it gets hit, it prevents it from shattering, right? You get it from a glass repair, like auto wrecker, not an auto wrecker, but a window guys, right? So anyway, this little room here is going to be very nice once it's done. I'm doing it for several reasons, people. Obviously, my grandson is the biggest factor, right? So he learns this stuff and he'll remember. This is what he'll remember about his Nana. The other thing is, my landlady is old, and, when you get old, there's only so many things in life that can bring pleasure. So she likes to go through the yard, right? It makes her feel young and spry. So I kind of keep my sight on making her happy, because I loved my grandma when my grandma was alive, and my landlady kind of reminds me of my grandmother, right? So, what do you call it? I'm kind of doing this for her, too. So once it's all done, when she comes in, after it's all figured out, and she just walks in, hold on, and she comes in, because this is our seedling room. Used to be the hen house, but now it's a seedling room. She'll come in, and we'll have seeds starting whether it's trees, whether it's food, flowers, doesn't matter. The point is when she comes in, she'll feel good. And then, of course, for me, right, I get to grow food, grow trees, right, and complain. Hold on a minute. And look what's happening in this corner. Every day I come out, it's like another 2 more inches. Serious. So I have to run some more strings because this wants to go this way. I gotta do something in here a little bit, right? Just kind of maybe attach a few things. Just attach a few, do something. I'll just run a couple strings or something just to give it a little more whatever, right? As you can see, things in there starting to need to get into the ground, right? Right? So I gotta find some time to do that. I want tomato plants growing in here, so I'm gonna have to try and pick out a little bit in here. At least get them growing on this side, right? You know, tomorrow I'm gonna work outside in the back with my daughters. So it's really, really hot right now. So hold on a minute. So there's the point of this video, people. This is what these city councils don't want you to have.